Am văzut așadar filmul cu primele 4 întreprinderi sociale prezentate în cadrul ediției și evenimentului de astăzi. Vă invităm să fiți alături de noi pe parcursul întregii zile, pentru că avem și alte modele de business-uri sociale pe care să vi le prezentăm. Și revenim la invitații noștri de astăzi și continuăm discuția cu doamna Dana Gabriela Verbal. Doamna Verbal face parte din Comisia de Politici Publice, ce vizează economia socială în cadrul Direcției Generale Ocuparea Forței de Muncă, Afaceri Sociale și Incluziune din cadrul Comisiei Europene. Activitatea sa se concentrează în prezent pe pregătirea Planului European de Acțiune pentru Economia Socială, care urmează să fie lansat în toamna acestui an. Dana Verbal contribuie la măsuri care să permită accesul la finanțare pentru întreprinderi sociale și dezvoltarea piețelor de finanțare socială în Europa, precum și la măsuri care vizează sporirea vizibilității întreprinderilor sociale. Și astăzi ne va vorbi despre interesul Uniunii Europene de a dezvolta instrumente de finanțare pentru sectorul economiei sociale. Bună ziua!
Bună ziua! Mulțumesc pentru invitație. O să fac prezentarea mea în limba engleză, dar pot primi întrebări în orice limbă, adică în engleză sau în română. Thank you for the invitation. It was already presented, I work at the European Commission in a unit that is leading the work of the Commission on the preparation of an action plan for the social economy. And we are also working in the same unit on developing financial instruments and enabling access to finance for social enterprises. And we have been doing this since 2013. At the time, our very first action was a pilot action, a call for proposals that provided grants to 20 organizations working across Europe to develop social finance markets. So they were setting up financial instruments for the social economy, and they were also developing programs to enable social enterprises to become ready to take investments. Since 2013, we came a long way. In the meantime, at EU level, the European Commission launched a comprehensive package of instruments that include guarantees for loans, equity investments in financial intermediaries, liquidity for financial intermediaries, and grants for networks that are active at EU level in this field. And our call for proposals of 2013 was successful because it helped to prepare the market for these instruments. So we have repeated it 2 more times. And in the last round of this call for proposals, we selected 14 projects that are currently underway. And Alături de Voi is benefiting from a grant that they received from the last round of this call. And all these grants are managed by the European Commission, while the repayable finance instruments are managed by the European Investment Fund, and they are implemented through financial intermediaries. And all these instruments and measures that I've mentioned will be continued in the future under the umbrella of InvestEU and under the European Social Fund Plus. But with the action plan for the social economy, we aim to mainstream social economy into all policy initiatives and programs of the Commission, where it makes sense, of course. And that means that we also aim to mainstream it, for example, in programs and initiatives that enable access to finance for social enterprises in neighborhood countries and in other parts of the world. But I'd like to go back to the title of the presentation because I think it raises a relevant question which is worth explaining. And this is, why is the EU interested in developing financial instruments for the social economy? So why the social economy and why financial instruments, and why is the EU doing this? Why aren't member states doing it at their level? And in this case, the EU action is justified by several reasons. First of all, the EU recognizes the contribution that social economy brings in dealing with many challenges that our societies are facing today. They are active across all sectors of the economy, and they contribute to the delivery of sustainable development goals and to the delivery of most of the principles that are enshrined in the European Pillar of Social Rights. And with a social plan, with the action plan for the social economy, we also want to highlight very much the contribution that social economy can make to ensuring that the green and the digital transition that our planet and societies are facing these days, the contribution that social economy can make to ensuring that these transitions will be fair and not leave anyone behind. So for these reasons, it makes a lot of sense to ensure that social economy is promoted and that they can benefit from conditions where they can thrive. But this doesn't really justify yet intervention at EU level. In the areas of social affairs and entrepreneurship, the EU has shared competencies, or rather supportive competencies. So it only intervenes if there is a market failure and if the action at EU level can bring an added value compared to if the action was implemented at a national level. There was, I heard from a colleague, a Finnish colleague, tell that there was a former Finnish politician once who said that where there is the EU, there is a problem. He didn't mean it in a constructive way, but he was right, especially for the area of social affairs. If the EU is there and if it's visible, it means that there is a problem. In this case, we have evidence that shows there is a market failure. So social enterprises have more difficulties than normal SMEs in accessing finance, and in particular non-repayable finance. And this is due to their business models and to the way they organize themselves, because they are less well understood by financial intermediaries and even by public finance providers. They put social goals before profits. So this means that they would reinvest a big part of their profits into the social goals, and they will be less likely to be able to provide a big financial return for investors. And they are also quite keen on defining a social impact, on measuring this impact and reporting about impact. And all this takes skills and resources, which makes them a little bit less attractive to investors that don't understand so well why they need to measure and report the impact. So this justifies public intervention in supporting social enterprises through financial instruments. Intervention at EU level is further justified by the fact that social entrepreneurship is an emerging phenomenon in most EU countries, with some exceptions like, for example, Italy or France, who have a very long tradition in this area. So the EU can bring about some economies of scale. It can design a single instrument that can be then used on demand by all the member states. So this is what we have been doing under the Employment and Social Innovation Program so far. And maybe a last reason that justifies using financial instruments is the fact that we are in a context where our public resources are under pressure, and financial instruments are interesting because they can help mobilize private financing. For example, you will hear later on a presentation about the guarantees for loans to social enterprises and to micro enterprises. These guarantees at EU level have a leverage of around 11, I think. So this means that for every euro of public money, we can mobilize 11 private financing euros. So for these reasons, we launch financial instruments at EU level. But of course, member states have also the European Social Fund at their disposal, now also the recovery and resilience plans, and they can use these programs as well to have such an approach at national level. And a last point I would like to make is about our vision and the approach that the EU takes in developing social enterprise finance and ecosystems. As I mentioned, we launched a comprehensive package of instruments that is addressing the different needs of social enterprises throughout their life cycle. And this addresses not only their needs for finance, but also their needs for capacity building, and also the needs of other actors in the market, in particular financial intermediaries and support organizations when we talk about finance. But there are many other actors like networks of social enterprises that also need to be supported. And we also need to invest in research in order to give more visibility to this sector that is quite difficult to capture, because, as I said, it's operating across all sectors of the economy. And there is a need also to invest in entrepreneurial skills and education. So we strongly believe that to develop an ecosystem, one needs to have such a comprehensive vision. And it's great if one launches single actions like grants for starting up social economy organizations. This is all very good, but it's even better if these grants are part of a big picture, of a long-term vision, where these enterprises will also be able to be supported later on to scale up their activities. If they will ever want to take a grant or an investment, they will have a financial intermediary who understands them and is ready to provide such finance to them. So I will stop here with my presentation, but I remain online and wish you a very good continuation of the conference.
Mulțumim foarte mult, doamna Dana Verbal, o prezentare extrem de interesantă și importantă, care a reflectat încă o dată cât de important este pentru întreprinderile sociale să aibă piață, să crească sustenabil prin cerere și ofertă, dar a subliniat și că, deși au impact social, au nevoie de politici active și de instrumente financiare. Am reauzit de Planul Național de Redresare și de programele naționale de redresare și reziliență, care joacă un rol strategic în perioada următoare pentru dezvoltarea sectorului social, așa că mulțumim foarte mult pentru discuția și pentru participarea dumneavoastră în cadrul evenimentului de astăzi.